Friends and colleagues, thank you very much for the opportunity to serve as your president and to speak with you today. I'd like to start by thanking my colleagues, the team of recent and forthcoming presidents who now form a kind of rolling presidential team for the Society, the vice presidents who lead new efforts, the Energetic Policy Council who help drive things forward, and Roberta and the Home Office team who provide invaluable guidance and foundations to keep things on track. What I want to talk with you about today is the opportunity that we all, to some degree, know exists for System Dynamics to build its influence and impact. In February, the Policy Council lent support to this vision for the field. I don't expect you to read it all right now. It'll come back up at the end of the presentation, and I will say in various ways all the things that are on this. But the first sentence says, System Dynamics will transform society by making improvements to decision-making in government, commerce and other organisations globally. And the rest of it is equally bold. Now, many may be sceptical that this is overreaching and unrealistic. I want to show you two reasons why it may be possible, then ask you to do three things to bring it about. The first reason to believe this vision is achievable is simply that others have done this before in other domains. The following examples are mostly business related because that happens to be where I come from, but you can probably think of other examples as I go through these. Now, I understand that systems engineering originated at Bell Labs in the 1940s. Their professional society, the International Council on Systems Engineering, started in 1990 and continues to grow steadily. Now, although the Council has just 8,300 members, I don't know if anyone would like to guess how many systems engineering job advertisements were placed last year. Anyone like to offer a guess? No, you wouldn't, would you? The answer is 500,000. That's not 500,000 jobs, of course, but it is at least indicative of a very large and ubiquitous profession. Like us, their field takes a holistic view of problems, it tackles complexity, it uses graphical representations and models, including, by the way, ours, and follows well-established professional procedures. Now, today, pretty much every manufacturing firm and many others employ qualified systems engineers. The Council, remember only 8,300 members, has built a large and evolving body of knowledge, a strong and continually extended technical resource centre, a demanding 3-level profession certification process, and a 100-strong corporate advisory board made up almost entirely of big names like Boeing, Deloitte, IBM, PA Consulting, NASA, Siemens, and so on and so on. So, systems engineering has done it, right? But systems engineering looks like a pretty complex and demanding discipline with many technicalities, amenable, you might think, to this kind of rigorous management, huge impact and recognition. But let's take a different example. The balanced scorecard approach to managing business performance lacks a rigorous underlying theory, and its method, training and dissemination might best be described as craft-based. Nothing wrong with that, so long as it works, of course, and in spite of those characteristics, the balanced scorecard is used today by nearly half of North American corporations and at least a quarter of firms in Europe and Japan. In the first 20 years after its emergence in 1992, it infected the whole corporate landscape. Its institute has no public membership, but it too offers a certification program, and thousands of balanced scorecard courses are run around the world each year. So this profession, like systems engineering, provides tens of thousands of jobs. We could go into other examples. Other disciplines like Six Sigma, value-based management, business process design, all swept through their domains to which they were relevant in 20 years or less. 20 years or less. These professions all serve a large and stable user base in big organizations that recognize the important contribution they make to sustained, strong performance. Their professionals can be qualified and certified, not in the kind of compulsory way required in law or medicine, say, but certification sends a strong message that these are serious professions with demanding, well-defined skills that are highly valued. All have large libraries of technical and popular cases and books, and all are well known outside of the profession itself. Ask any mid to upper level manager in any organisation about these topics where they're relevant, and those managers will have some idea what they are, what they do, and why they are important. So I rest my case. The kind of adoption and impact that our vision calls for can be reached and need not take half a century to be achieved. My second argument for saying we can take the opportunity is that the door is actually open to us and has been for a long time. Take economics. A young PhD, note all those who were there on Sunday, a young PhD used a model of a newly oil-rich country built on the macroeconomic model developed at MIT and an oil price model to propose policies for managing future oil revenues. With the director of the National Bank, he argued for a petroleum fund with strict rules for using revenues which Parliament endorsed. Two leading economists argued against the proposal, but the government, having seen the dangers highlighted by his work, established the fund, which has since become the backbone of the country's economic strength. That young PhD was Erling Moxnes, the country is Norway, and the work was done in 1982. Audience participation time. Let's just have a show of hands. How many people knew that? More importantly, it's not a very big number, right? More importantly, how many economists know that? And I suspect rather small number. I don't actually know, but I suspect it's a small number. Let's move on. Take defence. OzCam is the operating and support cost analysis model, which you'll find at ozcamtools.com. It's an SD-based program developed by Steve Curran and colleagues in the UK for the US and UK defence departments to manage costs of operating, maintaining and provisioning the fleet. Not just a few ships, the fleet. System dynamics is the core of the system because it's the only approach that could capture the accumulations, the aging chains, the interdependencies and thresholds that arise between the elements of the program. This is a great success story and we should congratulate them for that, especially since it's now been in use for 15 years. 15 years. It is continually adapted and extended and now deals with air and land-based assets too. But once again, audience participation, please, show of hands, how many people here knew of OzCam before I mentioned it? Okay, we have an awareness problem to deal with, right? There are many similar cases in our other domains, environment, business, public policy, and so on, highly valued by the small group of people closely involved, but not widely known in the wider professional community, and completely invisible to the wider world. What these cases tell us, though, is that the door is open. So why don't we walk through it? Well, just a few people in our community have done so. Take healthcare. Building on work done with colleagues at Harvard University School of Public Health, Kimberly Thompson and Radbu Tebens now lead KidRisk, published this in the world-leading medical journal The Lancet. We developed a dynamic model to show the importance of maintaining and increasing immunisation intensity to complete the eradication of polio, and to show how policies based on perception of high short-term costs or cost-effectiveness ratios without consideration of long-term benefits could undermine eradication efforts. If I can translate that rather polite statement into plain language, that's a polite way of saying the economists got it wrong. This work informed the World Health Organization's current policy to commit billions of dollars to polio eradication and likely save hundreds of thousands from the suffering that would have resulted from periodic flare-ups of the disease in otherwise under-vaccinated populations. Those in the fight against polio and other diseases know of this work and of its importance. Healthcare may be the single domain in which system dynamics has advanced the furthest towards its potential, with Jack Homer and colleagues encouraging awareness and policy change through the Centres for Disease Control and other channels, and consulting groups in other countries impacting health service policy on a wide range of issues. Similar recognition and acceptance may also have grown in some other specific topics like project management and water use. But I was chatting the other day to someone who spent a few decades working on project management, and his estimate of penetration amongst project managers, not system analysis, is that system dynamics is probably known by less than 1% of project managers. I don't know, he doesn't know, that was his best guess. So these examples of visibility for system dynamics in major policy domains are not unique, but they're certainly rare in the sense of not being well known. Why is that? What is it that's kind of holding back that visibility and awareness? Let's step back and consider what a profession actually is. At the core of a profession are the users who want work done and the practitioners who do it. Good work attracts new users who then ask for more such work, which pulls in more practitioners. The work deploys methods developed by academics and by practitioners, of course, building on what is learned from doing the work, and the academics instill the method in students and in other learners who then become practitioners or more academics. The academics and students publish articles that build the intellectual reputation of the field, raising the number and stature of more academics. Now, a field doesn't have to have all this, of course. Astrologers and some alternative therapists get along just fine without anything on the left-hand side of the picture. And some academics get along just fine writing articles for each other in journals that they promote amongst themselves with no interest in bothering anybody on the right-hand side of the picture. Our academics, of course, are not at all of that kind, that nearly all being practitioners too. Now, this system maxes out when the opportunity is largely exploited. Not necessarily 100% penetration, but as you've seen from those examples I gave you, pretty substantial fraction. So this is the system that the society seeks to drive forward. We're not talking about driving the society, we're driving the field. And the left side of our system is in pretty good shape. It's in pretty good shape. We've got a strong stream of PhDs and other students coming through. The academics are in good heart. And we've heard from Rogelio about the strengthening that is going through the system dynamics review. So the fact that I'm focusing on practice is not in any way to play down the academic side at all. But effort in any system works by changing the flow rates. And it's the flow rates on the right that need our attention. So how's that doing? Well, the right loop at the top there is known as do good work and they will come. Unfortunately, it's not true. They will come only if the work is known about. And that requires writing about it, presenting it, recording it, and promoting it. If that doesn't happen, the outflows take over and the system stalls. And that's where both the challenge and the opportunity for us all are to be found. This part of our system, unlike just about any other profession, is replicated across numerous domains of policy. In fact, this figure badly understates that diversity because each domain includes many subdomains of its own. Business includes project folk, marketers, finance VPs, human resource types, and so on. Public policy covers justice, housing, social services, and many other topics, and so on and so on. So, as I say, our potential is vast, but so is the task to achieve it. But I hope that I've shown you that this is possible, which is where you come in. I said I was going to ask you to do 3 things, so here they are. First, go find those practitioners. There are thousands of them out there doing great things with system dynamics and making a big difference in their domain. We know that because when we go looking for them, we can find them. But if we don't go looking, we don't know who they are, what they're doing, or for whom they're doing it. I can tell you there are many lonely folk out there plugging away as best they can with little knowledge that the system dynamics community could be supporting them. So go hunt them down and offer that support. As a society, we need to raise the incentive for practitioners to get involved. So the Policy Council in February approved the creation of a new position of Vice President for Professional Practice to develop that support and encouragement. We really need a strong person for that post. So if you know who that might be, or if you might be that person, get in touch. If not with me, with David Ford, who is about to head our nominations committee. Second, write about that work. Present it, report it, and promote it. Not just to us, but to the people who need more of it. How might we achieve that? Well, if you met someone who you thought might find system dynamics useful, where would you send them to show them its value? The System Dynamics Review, maybe, right? Well, I just checked this with Rogelio just to make sure I wasn't being impolite, but just think, what do you want your hypothetical friend to find? You want them to find real-world cases featuring people like themselves dealing with challenges just like their own and talking about the value that System Dynamics gave to them, described in short, persuasive language. The review fulfills a quite separate and absolutely critical purpose, building our credibility in other academic domains, but it is not, and is not meant to be, a publicity machine for potential users and practitioners or for the wider public. Articles in other academic journals, say in healthcare, environment, or economics, certainly tick the relevant box for your hypothetical friend, but they too are not typically accessible either in content or style to time-pressed professionals. And to complete a loop I missed from the model of a profession I showed earlier, tell the public too, because if they know that much better policy is possible, they might just start to demand it. What a shame, for example, that the Norwegian people don't know that they have Erling and System Dynamics to thank for their high standard of living today. What a shame that the people in sub-Saharan Africa and Bangladesh don't know that they have Kimberly and her colleagues and System Dynamics to thank for the fact that their kids are likely to escape the ravages of polio. Wouldn't that be great? How to do that? Well, we know where people go looking for information these days. They go to Google, they go to Amazon, and they go to YouTube. Search Amazon for Systems Engineering, Balanced Scorecard, or Six Sigma, and you will find thousands of titles. You'll even find some titles for dummies there. So there's hope for us all in Balanced Scorecard and Six Sigma, apparently. Now, some great efforts already going on in this popular direction. The teaching materials and initiatives in the K-12 community reach out not only to the children themselves, but indirectly to their teachers and parents. The efforts of Jean Bellinger and Scott Fort-Monroe with their interactive ebook, Beyond Connecting the Dots, promise to reach a much wider population than we've reached before. And as you heard yesterday, Eric Prout from Delft is releasing another open ebook aimed at creating large numbers of skillful new practitioners. But these and other efforts will need content, more cases, more successes, more evidence of impact. And at that point, the diversity, which I said earlier was a challenge, could kick in and be a real asset for us. There's a concept from my world of corporate strategy known as relatedness. It's very simple. It simply means that an asset in one activity can be leveraged in other activities. Coca-Cola can sell Fanta and Sprite and Powerade far more effectively than anyone else because they can leverage the Coca-Cola sales force and its dispense machines. For us, this means that success in one domain offers credibility to kick down doors in others. Ah, says someone, so System Dynamics has done that in healthcare and in defense and in environment. And I can see how its powerful method can do that. Wow, I guess it can help me too in policing or in foreign aid, in city management or whatever. Now, like those other professions I mentioned earlier, System Dynamics also needs tools, and our software providers work tirelessly at making what is genuinely a tricky method understandable to outsiders and accessible to new users. Don't let's give up on the basis that our method is too complicated. Go and tell that to someone in Six Sigma or systems engineering, right? That's not an easy lunch either. In addition, the Open Standards Initiative being led by Karim Chichikli of IC and Steve Adler at IBM and others can help open up models and cases to wider audiences and allow other systems to integrate with ours, which will allow other people to start using our models as part of what they do. As for presenting and recording great work, sorry folks, posting slide decks isn't good enough. It just isn't good enough. And be careful. Remember that no one sees what we see when they look at our diagrams. They are very, very likely indeed to be taken out of context, misrepresented, and even ridiculed, as happened not so long ago. I think it was in the New York Times. Fortunately, the blame got put on PowerPoint, not on System Dynamics. So that was a narrow escape. In any case, it's pretty much impossible to be persuasive with text or images alone, even if you can get busy people to take the time to read it. So look around YouTube for how to present things well. It doesn't have to be fancy video. Screen capture is dead easy. And there's endless advice out there on how to give a strong presentation in whatever field you're doing. Finally, on this issue of communications, will you please jump hard on anyone you hear who says, "Why aren't we getting anywhere?" It just isn't true, and every remark like that just makes it harder to get further faster, okay? So please stop saying that and stop anybody else saying it. What we have, in summary, is a marketing challenge. The vast bulk of the System Dynamics iceberg is hidden underwater, and the piece that is above the water is hidden in fog. So my challenge, so my challenge to you all is to lift that cloud and lift that iceberg out of the ocean so everybody can see it. Now, to help with that, the Policy Council also approved a second new position of Vice President for Marketing and Communication. Once again, we need a strong candidate for that role. And by the way, all vice presidential positions have the option of kind of roping in any assistance that you want. So it's not a lonely job. You can ask for help from anyone. So if you think you can help with either of these tasks, representing and supporting practitioners or marketing and communicating the field, but don't feel up to a vice president job, do still let us know, because there's much you can help with short of taking on one of those jobs. My third request to you is to join in and reach out. Grab those practitioners by the hand and hound them for their work. We've set up a simple system which we will shortly make simpler still for people to submit success stories. This is what it asks for. What was the problem? Whose problem was it? Anonymous if necessary. I know some stuff is confidential, so you can say, firm X or city council Y. Say what you actually did and what the value was. I don't mean, oh yeah, we all got a better understanding of the problem and the issues, right? What was the actual value? What did they do, and what was that worth to people? Either in financial terms or in some other real concrete benefit. And end up with links to more information and who to contact to find out more. This takes no time at all. We're talking about less than a page of content we're asking from you here. How long does the average person spend putting together an article for the System Dynamics Review? 2 days? I'm asking for half a page, folks, right? Half a page. So this takes no time at all, and we can offer help to make the cases engaging. As soon as we have enough to look impressive, and not before, we will go bold with featuring and promoting that list. Where we need to get to is a point where anyone with any authority in any function, in any organization hearing about System Dynamics can go to our site and immediately find short and powerful examples of how you or someone like you help solve some challenges exactly like theirs. That's where we need to get to, right? The Society's interest groups are critical to this. Up to now, most have been just that, communities who share an interest amongst themselves. They chat at conferences and so on. But they're hugely important. Why are they so important? Because if you look back at this picture, it's in the SIGs that you find the users, the practitioners, and the work. So join those SIGs, get those practitioners to join too. They don't even have to be members of the Society to join our interest groups, and get talking and sharing. Then when you've got a good pile of useful content, take it out to the professionals from your domain who don't yet know about System Dynamics. Our country chapters fulfill a very complementary role in this as the channels into national and regional communities, especially where language issues arise. So join your chapters too and chase down the SIGs for content to disseminate. The Society set up a fund to support any promising efforts to get System Dynamics out into under-resourced regions, and I can announce today, for example, that with David Anderson's initiative, we are making a strategic thrust to win back and rebuild our visibility in Asia Pacific, which I rather fear we've kind of lost a bit of focus on. We're working on a plan for a conference this winter in Japan, and the Strategy Committee recommends that is followed as soon as possible by, if possible, annual winter conferences in the region. And it's not just Asia Pacific. We'll support any similar initiatives that we can in any region that promises to build the field. Now, at least as important for us all is to go join the user communities in your domains of interest. If not joining their actual societies, then at least join their LinkedIn or other discussion groups. So when someone out there says, hey, I've got this problem, you can jump in with System Dynamics can help with that. Go look at these examples. Even better, team up with enthusiastic adopters of System Dynamics who come from those communities. You may be surprised to find that they actually want to hear from us. Balanced scorecard discussions, for example, frequently ask how System Dynamics can help with their efforts. Incidentally, I have a special request for our most experienced colleagues. I sometimes hear that taking part in discussion groups is a waste of time because they're dominated by dumb questions and comments from people who don't know what they're talking about. Whenever that happens, it's more serious than it sounds. It poses a serious danger to all of us because that is the public face that newcomers will see. That's what newcomers will see. But it doesn't have to be like that. Discussions will not be dominated by people who don't know what they're talking about if people who do know are constantly active, offering advice and guidance. And surely we want to encourage people into our community by answering exactly those dumb questions and fixing those dumb comments. Lastly, in this final call to join in and reach out, see if you can reach out to the public, respond to news stories, send in pieces of papers, whatever. Just make sure the phrase System Dynamics is in everything you do so Google will spot it and start building that visibility. So I hope what I've done is I've made the case that it is possible to drive System Dynamics to the scale and impact that society needs and that it can be done in a couple of decades. And I've shown the kind of things you can do to help get us there. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your society, your field, your opportunity. So I'd ask you to go out there and take it. Thank you.